In the zone. So happy to be with you today, folks. We've got a gorgeous day outside in Western Massachusetts. Pete Coles, Rich Sutter, dynamic duo of In the Zone. But today, folks, we are super, and I mean super pumped to be joined by Coach Frank Martin, the head basketball coach at the University of Massachusetts. Coach Martin, welcome to In the Zone.
Thanks for having me, man. Excited to talk ball and the state of our game or anything else you want to visit about today.
I love it. I love it. I know you're busy, so we're going to be as tight as we can. Coach Martin comes to us with an unbelievable resume. Head coach at Kansas State, 520-win seasons there. Every single season was a 20-win season. Amazing, amazing record of accomplishment there. On to South Carolina, where he was able to take a team to the Final Four. I know you coaches out there, and I know some of you young people out there understand what that means. The Final Four is something of rarefied air and is an accomplishment that very, very few coaches can claim. And now, so excited to have him back at UMass, the flagship, doing an unbelievable job there. Coach, what were your earliest influences in basketball? Who made you love this stuff?
It's crazy. Growing up in Miami, Florida, we had no basketball of any kind other than high school basketball anywhere near South Florida. So I grew up a Miami Dolphins fan. I grew up wanting to be Larry Zonka, and just it's all I cared about. Nick Bonacani, a Springfield native, and the Dolphins, and I lived in the neighborhood and where the Orange Bowl was at, and it's all we had. And but my grandmother had played basketball in Cuba, where she was from. But basketball didn't tickle me, so I really didn't follow it. In 1977, I stayed up late at night, and I made my mom think I was sleeping. And back then, the NBA games were on tape. The finals series, the finals, I guess they kick off tonight, so it's coincidence we're speaking. They wouldn't play it live television. It'd be taped delayed, 11:30 at night on CBS. And a friend of mine at school said, "Hey, you should stay up and watch this." So I acted like I was sleeping. I went back. I changed the channels. Clack, 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 clack. I put on CBS at 11:30 at night, and I saw this guy flying through the air called Dr. J. And I was like, "Holy cow! I've never seen any human being do anything like that in my life." And from that day forward, I started falling in love with basketball and fell in love with it. Then my high school coach, who was my father figure, my dad had left the house when I was 10, and so our high school coach was a leader in our neighborhood. And but my grandmother and him were the two people that made me fall in love with basketball.
That's an unbelievable story. That's just a great, great story, and thanks for sharing that with us. When you were in Miami, how has basketball grown there since?
Well, that's the story I told you with me was 1977, and literally FIU had no basketball. My University of Miami had no basketball. There's no Miami Heat. South Florida was a Division II program back then. Central Florida was a Division II program back then. And all those schools were 3-4 hours away from Miami. Florida Atlantic had no basketball. So there's nothing for any of us that followed basketball to hope that we can play somewhere, because we never saw it, never had no ties to it. But then, first of all, with I'm not here to promote anything else, but with the creation of ESPN, we started watching Big East basketball down there in the early 80s. Then the University of Miami reinstated their basketball program, I think it was 1985. Florida International became a 4-year school. And then lastly, the Miami Heat started in 1988, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
And then Florida Atlantic became a Division I program. FIU became a Division I program, and the rest is history. Basketball started taking off throughout the early 90s, and away we went. And now, basketball's just like it has around the world. It's become such a impactful sport that so many people have the opportunity to play.
Coach, you mentioned Larry Zonka, but if I saw you with a football in your hand coming at me, I'm getting out the way. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm getting
It's
out the way.
it's all I ever wanted to do was be Larry Zonka.
Those
it's
Dolphin
funny.
teams were just
And-
with Shula. They were just incredible. They were just
yeah.
incredible. I wanted to talk a little bit about your time at Kansas State, your start in the business, and talk about some of the things that you've learned along the way.
Oh, I, I'll give you a quick story, which happened at the end of my first year as a head coach, which is one of the most impactful things that's happened to me. So, being a high school coach for as long as I was and being around really good players, I got to meet from Dean Smith, Bob Knight, to John Thompson. I got to meet all of them. Doesn't mean I became best friends with them, but met all of them. Well, Bob Huggins was one of those guys. He ends up hiring me because he hired me. Now, those other guys I just mentioned started respecting me and taking even a greater liking to me because they all respected Hugs the way they did. And if you went to work for Hugs, they know that you were about the right things. So I become a head coach. And the end of my first year, I had a guy on my team named Michael Beasley, National Player of the Year, the whole thing. So I show up at the Final Four, and I've got to do all these radio hits because we went to the NCAA tournament in the year Michael had, and my personality's more old school than it is new school. So everyone was intrigued with, I got to talk to this guy. Who is this guy? Everyone said he was going to be a fraud and fail, and instead his team made it to the round of 32. And so I walk into Radio Row. I'd never been there before. And it's unbelievable. It's like table after table after table and all the great radio shows around the country. And the one I'm doing happens to be right next to Coach Thompson's radio show table.
Wow.
As I'm walking by his table, he's got his headsets on. He points at me and tells me to sit down. Well, Coach Thompson tells you to sit down, you sit down. You don't So when he went to a radio break, takes his headphones off, gets up. I get up to shake his hand, and he looked at me dead in my eyes, and he said, "The job you did this year with Michael Beasley is unbelievable." He says, "This business is going to try and change you. You better not let it change you. You better be who you are every day to the day you decide you don't want to do this anymore." And I'll never forget those words from a man of principle, a man that was ethical, a man that was a fighter, that was so successful, and he was about people. Coach Thompson was about empowering people, not about winning games. And then, from that day forward, as my journeys continued to evolve, countless NBA players, I'll be in an airport, come up to me and shake my hand, and they introduce themselves to me, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'll be like, "Yo, I'm your biggest fan," or whatever, and they're like, "Don't change. These young guys need people like you in their life." So that's those moments are as powerful because it's people that I've met on my journey that come reinforce to me what life and basketball, how it was presented to me, and the way it helped me become a better man. And it's the way I've tried to continue to do my job to empower the younger people that are in the moment of basketball.
That's one of the things that I love about you. I really do. It's just that you shouldn't try and change who you are, because then, as one of the great Irish philosophers once said, "Be yourself because everyone else is taken." And so it's so important to stay true to yourself and to be the guy that you really want to be. I wanted to just start off with the South Carolina piece because the Final Four run there, I watched that team, man. I loved watching that team. Your teams play with a certain grit and a certain intensity that my New York background certainly resonates with. But we were on our way to South Carolina one time, and we were going to the Beach Ball Classic. I'm going to tell the story really quick. And so we go down, and the guy who was supposed to drive the van with me was the New York City police officer. He comes in, and he's shaken up when he gets into Malloy the next morning. I'm looking around. I go, "What's the matter? You all right?" He goes, Yeah. We just came around a corner, and the guy just pulled out a gun last night and just started shooting at me and my partner. I was like, oh my God, you're going to be all right to drive? Yeah, I'm fine. Let's go. I want to get to South Carolina. We get to South Carolina, and of course, with Mr. Curran, you have to go to church. We go to church, and Frank McGuire shows up in the pew right next to us because that was Mr. Curran's coach at St. John's.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Curran, during church, looks over at Frank McGuire and goes, we used to call the kid Big Time. He goes, Big Time got shot at last night. Frank McGuire just looks at him and goes, that's terrible, son. When Big Time got back on Monday, he was transferred to the sweetest precinct in all of New York City because Frank McGuire looked at him and said, well, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so if we could just start with Coach McGuire just a little bit and everything that got built down there by such a, I mean, he was on the Blackwell's best dressed list many, many times. He was an absolute gentleman. And then for you to take the reins there, what did that mean? Because I'm a Bobby Cremins guy too. That whole South Carolina thing to me that's like a second home to me.
Well, I can tell you, when I took the job, I had no idea of the unbelievable connection that existed with that underground railroad or whatever it was called from New York City to Columbia, South Carolina for Coach McGuire. And Jack Curran, Coach Curran, was right in the middle of that whole thing. All the Malloy guys that went down there and played and had incredible success. And getting to know all those guys over the years was powerful. Obviously, I never got to know Coach McGuire, but his presence is still felt in that community. And here's a great Coach McGuire story. So the labor unions had come in and shut down the port in Charleston, South Carolina. And the governor of the state of South Carolina couldn't get the problem fixed. So they went to Coach McGuire and asked for help. Well, the next day, the labor folks were gone and the port was back to functioning. Coach McGuire called New York and made sure that whatever was going on had to be removed. And his presence, his power, and I don't say power in a negative way, because power is a weird word. Some people take power for the wrong reasons and wrong purposes, and he wasn't one of those. But he had a presence and a power to make change, to make things better, and that was awesome. And Mike Dunleavy, playing golf with him one time, and he said, Frank, like, all of us have been head coaches. We see what you do, and just be careful. When the game's going on, you got to figure out a way to make your point without the cameras knowing what you're trying to do. And I said, well, Mike, expand on that on me. He says, well, Coach McGuire. See, Coach used to wear these great cufflinks, and anytime he called a player over, he'd always be pulling his shirt out. And people be looking at him pulling his cufflinks to show him and his classiness, like the way he dressed. And everybody like, look at him. What an unbelievable leader. Look how well dressed he is. He said, if you're the player standing next to him, the stuff he was saying to you, you're like, holy cow. Like, I don't want to deal with this man at practice tomorrow. Let me get this done the right way right now. So it's just, I'm a big believer, because when you're somewhere and you're winning games, because we get paid the way we do to win games, not to be celebrated as these great teachers or whatever, even though that's who we are by trade. When you're gone, is your way of doing things and your presence still talked about and still felt. And when I arrived in South Carolina, Columbia in 2012, Coach McGuire had not been there since 1981, I believe.
Wow.
People still spoke about they built baskets in their driveways because of Coach McGuire. People still spoke about the way he dressed, the way he acted, how he managed, the things he did in the community. That's the power of Frank McGuire. And I'm fortunate. We in my time there, we celebrated him. We named the street outside the arena after him. His daughter and her family came in for that function. All of them, from John, the only guy that didn't come back, I couldn't remember his name real quick, was a guy named John Roach. Other than him,
It's Malloy guy.
Other than him, he was in Colorado. He big tennis player now at his age, and he just couldn't get away. But all the other ones came back, and being around those guys and listening to Coach McGuire stories, man, that as a kid that just loves this, just so powerful, man, to be around and get to know all those guys. Just an incredible group of people.
I was around Brian Winters and Kevin Joyce quite a bit, and that's just basketball at its best. Let's drill down on the Final Four a little bit, because that's rarefied air, man. That's unbelievable stuff.
K-State, and the way you so clearly stated, anyone that's in the business, getting to the Final Four, that's kind of the Perry Clark, my old assistant, who was Bobby's assistant at Tulane back in the day.
Yes, he was.
Perry's my assistant on that Final Four team. And I remember when we won, he said, "Welcome to the club." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You're going to find out real soon." I had no idea what he was talking about. And all of a sudden, you're accepted into a room with unbelievably successful people that you have no idea that room even exists. And but at K-State in 2010, we're up one with 3 minutes to play in the Elite Eight game to go to the Final Four. And we lose to Butler with Gordon Hayward and Ronald Norred, and they had an incredible team. They obviously, Hayward missed that half court.
Lost in the final, yeah.
Yeah, in the final game. And so the game ends and you walk away from that moment. And as a coach, fans are I don't speak down on fans, but as fans, when your team wins to a certain place, you think you're going to get back every single year.
Right.
As a coach, you realize how hard it is to get there, that you're like, we're so close and the stars might not align to make this happen again. So now you hit fast forward and and get to South Carolina. Had finished in last place in the SEC in consecutive years, and take it from scratch and build it to where you set a school record for wins in 2016, and you get left out of the NCAA tournament, even though we finished in third place in the SEC. And then follow that up the following year. Nobody in the organization pouted. I learned from the players. The players came and I was down. And the returning players came and grabbed me. And they're like, "Yo, we got to get back to work. Regardless of what we did, it wasn't good enough." And I'm sitting there saying, these guys are right. I can't sit here and be the leader of the organization and pout. And the players came up with this whole thing. In the spring of 16, we got some unfinished business. And then we went into the following year with that whole mindset. And next thing you know, we beat Florida at Madison Square Garden. So you being a New Yorker, we just talked about Frank McGuire. All the New York guys are there. All the old McGuire New York guys are at the game. It's 23,000 people at the Mecca. You got New York playing on the speakers. We're on the court. My wife, her whole family are New Yorkers. My sister moved to New York in 1988, and she's a New Yorker. Her kids are New Yorkers. And I'm standing on that court, and I'm engulfed by all that emotion, like, holy cow. My staff, because I had the same staff, with the exception of Brad Underwood, who's at Illinois now, who Brad had left to go be the head coach of Stephen F. Austin. Everyone else on the staff was the same group of guys that came with me from K-State.
Beautiful.
And to end up in that moment of all the, because, we could have been in Utah or Oregon somewhere. Instead, it's South Carolina, and we are in Madison Square Garden, and the Frank McGuire impact that we just talked about, and the Kevin Joyces and Bobby and George and just keep going, all of them. They're all there. And I was like, wow, man, it's powerful stuff.
Something you and I have to do. We'll go hit the golf ball with Jimmy Powell, who's a good friend.
Oh, I
and
did.
Jimmy, yeah. So we'll have to get out with Jimmy because he lives locally and he's got some great South Carolina stories as well. Another Bronx guy that grew up next to me. Yep. Coach, you got 352 career wins. What keeps you moving?
The young people, everything's changed. Like I can't remember what coach said this, and it resonated with me. He said something about eventually we're all going to pass. And if the best thing they can put on my tombstone is my career record, that was a sad life. And uh, that resonated with me because that's who I am. I can care, like, I rarely speak about my past. I was fortunate, 16 years high school basketball, 8 state championships, 11 times playing for the championship. College basketball, the 5 winningest years at K-State happened under my tenure there. South Carolina, 2 greatest years in school history happened in my time there. It's not, that's not my thing. Never has been, never will be. Um, I still got the energy. I still, I love practice. I love teaching. Um, I know everyone always says, "Well, Frank's old school. That doesn't work in today's day and age." Well, that they don't recruit my players. I recruit my players. So as long as I'm in people's homes and parents and players still tell me like, "We want to be coached by you. We want to be challenged by you." I'm going to keep doing it. As long as today's day and age, there's so many transfers. For 5 years in a row, I've had at least 10 new players on my team. That's not fun, but I stay in it for those returning 3 or 4 guys. This year we got 7 returning guys. So in a time where there's so many transfers, the fact that we got 7 guys returning off a team that was a pretty good team, you saw us play a bunch. That gets me excited, and we had guys that are being recruited, not by other schools. I'm not here to blame other schools. By agents and people that they should go in the portal to go make more money somewhere. They said no, I'm good, and their parents said no, he's at the right place with the right coach. As long as I have that, Rich, I'm good. Good Lord gives me my health, and I feel as healthy as I felt in a long time. I love practice. I love competing. Game days have never been fun. Game days they're just never fun. They're hard. But as long as I can run my practice and feel that I'm making a positive impact in the players that I recruit, and I say that again because we lose sense. Like a lot of people are like, why would they want to play for him? Well, I recruited them. They made the decision. It's not like I'm a mystery. I'm an open book. I've done this for 42 years. People know that I'm pretty intense when it comes time to teaching, and I work real hard at holding people accountable. It's what I give people my word that I'm going to do. So it's away we go, and hopefully I can do it a little longer.
I think this is the piece that people miss. That's the highest form of love. That's the highest form of love you can go to challenge somebody to be great, to bring out the human side of them and take them to the other side of it, to a place they never thought they could have gone before in their life. That's what people don't understand. That's what people don't get. And the other stuff about it, I'm glad that over your time you've been able to see that as drivel and garbage and just stay as you are, because it's just such an important part for these young people to have that North Star that they can point to and say, this is going to be solid. You're going to be treated equitably. You're going to be treated fairly, but we're going to make you better. We're going to make you great. And when somebody says, I want to make you great, that's the highest form of love. All right, let's talk about some of the mid-majors and what you're going through. Your roster's turning over. You're on a Zoom call, every day with a new recruit. You're talking to agents who are trying to just bump the number up. I mean, how do you because you do look happy. This is the happiest I've seen you look in a long time. And I have been in practice, and I've seen zero diminishment in your enthusiasm for practice. So that's the way I look at LeBron James as well. People will come on the show and go, when's LeBron going to hang it up? I said, when we see diminishment. When we see significant diminishment, I think your enthusiasm is unbelievable. But what's going on at the mid-major level, and how does it get better?
It's hard right now. It's hard. I've been in the Power Five. If I was at a Power Five school, I'd be recruiting every good player in the mid majors. Because there's a reason why at Power Five schools on this side of the country don't schedule the A-10 schools, or the Midwest schools don't schedule the MAC schools, because we got good players. So no surprise that the MAC lost majority of its good players to the transfer portal because they all went to Power 5 schools. That happened to us at the end of my second year here. You recruit good players. Where I find my peace is the same way Michael Beasley, Bill Walker came and played 1 year for me, and they both made a better life because of that 1 year. I can't get mad at somebody that comes in here and does everything there I asked them to do, and they work their tails off, and we win games, and they have an opportunity for make life better for themselves somewhere else. This is not about holding people. The loyalty part in life shouldn't be about my success. It shouldn't be about our success. It should be about everyone's success, including you making the decisions that make your life better. And that's the part that I think we all get confused on sometimes. But it's hard because of all those things. I've got an agent. Agents are agents. That's what they do. People hire agents to find out what's best for them out there. It's can't get mad at agents. They're doing their jobs. Everyone's making a big deal about, I don't feel good when agents text me on a January night to watch player A on school A that they're going in the portal when the season ends. I don't feel good about that text message. But let's be honest, you don't think that happens in the NBA between agents and GMs or whatever it may be? Come on, who we kidding? It's the same thing. It's no different. So we just have to understand the moment, understand how to manage a little differently, and without deviating from who we are as leaders in every room that we walk into. My high school coach, Shaky Rodriguez, used to always say this to me when I was his young assistant. He said, Frank, always remember, the most important man in person, because it involves both male and female sports, the most important person in every sports room is the head coach. Don't ever forget that. And I never really understood that until I became a head coach. And now you comprehend why you got to make hard decisions and why you have to stand strong and lead every single day. So as I'm trying to understand this moment internally, to manage my office, to manage our locker room, it's important that we stick to what I was raised on. Stop worrying about what you don't have and worry about what you do have. And what we do have is we have a great school. We got a great facility. I've got a great group of 7 guys coming back. Instead of worrying about the 3 guys that transferred out, I'm worried about the 7 guys that stayed. How do I make those 7 better? What do I have to do to understand them better as people? Because that's where things have changed. Like I talk about being old school and all that stuff. Back then, we didn't care how you learned. You had to learn how we taught. Well, now it's different. Now it's like we have to we have to teach how they learn. They don't care about how we learned. We have to teach how they learn. And as a coach, you have to figure that one out so you can positively impact the young people in your locker room. So I don't know if I answered your question there, Rich, but
No, I think you encapsulated it beautifully.
Yeah, I think it's the journey that we're all on as we go through this transition phase of the reality of college athletics. We have no rules. You have no idea what the rules are. I'm not here to condescend and blame anybody. It's just a moment that we're in. And until this doesn't settle down, I think Charlie Baker's doing an incredible job of trying to create some kind of normalcy for the world that we coaches are asked to manage. Until that time comes, I think we're all in this search mission to figure out how to manage right now.
Hey, Coach, I got a question.
Shoot.
Is chemistry now more important on a team than any time in college basketball?
Absolutely. It's chemistry used to happen organically over time. Like you and I, we meet, your presence like impresses me, and my words impress you. Then we might agree to go have dinner, and then from dinner we might agree to become business partners. And then we get in business, and I make decisions that you don't like in business, and you're like, "Yo, Frank, wait a second, you know, we got to do this thing differently." Well, that's the way recruiting works on a team. Like we all get along in the summer. There's no playing time on the table. There's no winning and losing. There's no failure. No player playing bad. No game losing a game or TV or referees. There's nothing there. No AAU coach or parent or uncle or workout guy telling the athlete that I'm using them the wrong way. So all our relationship from the day they sign with us until we play our first game, it's all positive. There's no negative stuff there. But then the games start. And now you start finding out about players, coach to player, player to player, player to coach. And that used to happen organically over time, how you build that chemistry. Now you're hitting that fast forward button because you got to figure out what players don't get along.
Coach Sutter and I talk about it all the time. The chemistry of a team is really more important now than any time that I've seen watching the game.
Pete, you stole my question.
Yeah. Well, coach saw it firsthand 2 years ago. We're a pretty talented team. On Super Bowl Sunday, we won at LaSalle to put us in fourth place in the Atlantic 10. That means early February, we're in fourth place. That team only won 12 games all year. That I managed things a certain way in the summer leading into the season, and then I didn't realize it until the season started, like, okay, I got some issues on this team and personalities. And by the time we tried to fix it, we showed that we can be a really good team, but we record-wise, we weren't very good. And so it's complicated. It's a complicated moment because the pressure that these kids are under, to have to play and perform, because the adults in their lives are forcing them to worry about money.
Yep.
See, when I was a kid, I never worried about money. I worried about pleasing the people that believed in me. That's it. That's all I cared about. Now, the adults are pressuring kids for money. So these kids are in a world where they're being pressed. Like, they'll have 14 points and you win a hard game, and the next day it's a counseling session because the people in their life were mad that they only made 5 shots, that they didn't shoot 26 balls, that I took them out, with 8 minutes to go in the game or whatever. It's a complicated. I'm glad I'm not a teenager trying to find my way right now.
Well,
it's a complicated place.
Even as a fan or being in the media, it's insane that the fact that they're putting these kids, basically, college sports has now become. Coach and I talk about this all the time. It's becoming more and more like the minor leagues for the NBA, and that shouldn't be like that.
You throw gambling. You throw gambling into the mix, where people are losing money on some of these games. I mean, it's just, you're right, Coach. It's a pressure cooker. It's a pressure cooker. But what I wanted to expand on, Pete talked about your chemistry. I think you got to have a pretty high level of confidence to accumulate the staff that you have. I know Anthony Evans from way back in the day. Ralph Figger was a head coach. So you've got some guys in there that certainly have their own ideas and certainly have their own way of doing things when they were head coaches. I think it takes a pretty high level of confidence to accumulate a staff like that. How did you get to that point?
Oh man, just being around for a long time. It's Alan Edwards. I'll start with him. Alan played for me along with his 2 brothers, Doug Edwards, who's also on my staff, and Steve Edwards. They were all great players. Alan won 2 national championships as a starting player at Kentucky. And was a head coach at the University of Wyoming. And when I got hired here, he had lost his job and he was an assistant at Loyola Marymount. I called Alan, and Alan said, "I'm in." Figure, he and I built K-State together, went in, built South Carolina together, and just so happens that when I was trying to hire somebody, when Brett Nelson left, he was out of a job. So it lined up. And then Anthony Evans, Anthony and I have known each other for a long time, and a very successful head coach. And New York ties for Bishop Loughlin guy, and so when I had a chance to hire him, I immediately moved on that. And so Rich, I like just think about we talk about my successes or whatever. Well, think about my staff. Brad Underwood's proven to be a pretty darn good basketball
He's not
coach.
bad.
Figure proved that he was coach of the year when he became a head coach. We're not geniuses. We look to surround ourselves with workers that are truth tellers. At least that's the way I try to do things. And having people like that I've had, Brian Steele, who's also on my staff, who played for me in South Carolina. Brian is, I think he's a young star in this business, but they're all truth tellers, and they hold me accountable. And there's when I don't need people to come in my office and agree with me when they don't agree with me. I need them to tell me why they don't agree with me. Give me an option why you don't agree with me. Now, like I tell all of them, now there's sometimes that unfortunately you're going to leave my office and my last words are, well, we're still doing it my way.
100%.
And you're going to have to leave my office and not have your feelings hurt. But I need people to come in here and tell, like, hey, Frank, you're managing player A in the wrong way. This is why I think you're doing this. And make me think through my decisions. And like, I'll give you a quick story, Rich. It's late in the season, and I was done. I threw a player at South Carolina. I threw a player out of practice. I think there was maybe 10 days left in the season, and I was done. I was exhausted with the guy. The guy don't listen. He didn't want to do what I was asking him to do. So I told the managers, clean his locker. He's out of here. I'm done with him. I don't ever want to see him again. Perry Clark didn't approach me right there, but he waited to that night, and he called me, and he said, hey, man, I know you don't want to hear this, but I got to tell you, there's only 10 days left. You've been dealing with this guy for this long. Why create a negative story for no reason? Let's get to the finish line, and when the season ends, you and him can make whatever decision's best without creating a negative story for the team, internally or publicly. And I listened. I hung up. Woke up the next morning. I called the managers, and I said, make sure that player A comes in my office before practice today. And he came in. We made our peace. I put him back on the court. We played Kentucky the next day. He hit the game-winning shot to beat Kentucky. And long story short, now he and I have a great relationship. And he's a high school coach. But it took an experienced coach who had been a head coach to understand when to approach me, how to approach me, and to tell me the truth with a solution. Not just because you don't agree with me, but with a solution. And so I'm lucky, man. What other head coach in the country has 3 former Division I head coaches on their staff? And that's a credit to my bosses that they've been able to allow me to hire people like that and keep them here.
It's a credit to you as well for selecting them. Just quickly, Coach, because we've held you over a little bit longer than we wanted to, but I think this UMass program is pointed in the right direction. It just takes time. People don't realize that all the time, but some of the losses you had this year were so close. The team was performing at a really good level. Sometimes winning is learned. Are you excited about next year?
Absolutely. The game of basketball, just like football, if you return your point guard and you got a good team, you probably got a chance. And Karbucha is a uniter of people. He's a pass-first point guard. That's who. I get the NBA, man. 24-second shot clock, and James Harden's making $60 million. He's not running around and setting back screens and all that other stuff. He just give me the ball at the top of the key. Let me go make a play. I get that. I understand. My personal taste, I'd rather play with John Stockton and Magic Johnson, who pass the ball up the court and trust their teammates. And then when the game's hard and on the line, then they do what they got to do. But that's how Danny is. He's a uniter of people. He's a sharer of the ball, which makes everyone feel part of winning. And it starts there. And but I really like our team. I like the camaraderie. I like the development of the players that we have in place. And I love the guys we signed. We got 5 incoming freshmen. All 5 of them, they're really good. Our big guy Czech Silla and Hamir Holgerson are they're high major players. I'm blown away that high major schools didn't come in harder after these 2 guys, but they didn't because everyone's chasing transfer guys, and they didn't, and they're there for us. So now we got to impact them and make sure they grow up and take advantage of their talent. We signed a young man from Croatia. Noah Zimlic is a 6'5" Euro Cup rotation player that can really score. We signed a kid out of Boston, Cam Haley, who I think is a special point guard. And then my son, who shoots the cover off the basketball. And then we go around in the transfer time, and we brought in Jordan Clayton, who's I'm a huge fan of his. I recruited him really hard when I first got here. He went to Northwestern and just got his degree in 3 years. It's a big-time competitive character guy that's a leader that can shoot it, that's been on the court with the game on the line in Big Ten games. And then the 2 big guys we signed in the transfer portal, they're both high major players. So on paper, we've got a great group of guys coming back from a camaraderie, work ethic, and talent. And we're adding really good pieces to that. So on paper, it's not even close, the best team we've had. And I don't say that diminishing our previous teams. I say that complimenting them. That's how good I think these guys are that we got coming in. But now, like the question was earlier, can we figure out a way to get along? And can we get guys to embrace what we need from them and to play for us rather than the pressures of the outside world of stats? And because that you brought up gambling, that's what's ruined our sport. That's what's ruined our teams. That's what's ruined our games. That's what's ruined our fan bases. Because fantasy sports, it's all based on stats. And then you take all these stats and you put them together. Now your fantasy team wins because the guys with stats played well. And if guys don't put up stats, then your fantasy teams lose. All the talking heads, everything on TV, on the radio, majority of them are all gamblers and they're all fantasy sports people. So their energy is directly tied to their gambling. Well, now what happens is fans listen to that, and now they get tied up in fantasy sports. So if I don't play, Rich, you're on my team, and you're on someone else's fantasy team, and you had a bad week of practice, so I don't play you as much, and now they're mad at me because you didn't play. And if you do play, and you did everything right, and you just don't play well, even if we win, they're still pissed at you. So now you're in your social media, and everyone's telling you how much you suck, even though your team won. We're in a no-win situation because of gambling in the world that we've embraced to bring into the world of athletics. But it's all the new challenges, and we got to figure all that out.
Coach, that was probably the best interview we've ever had. I want to thank you for being with us in the zone. I want you to get back to work and keep hitting that golf ball a little bit in the summer. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I can't wait to watch your team next year. Thanks for joining us, Coach. You're in the zone today, buddy.
Thank you. And just let me know, you, me, and Jimmy, down to Southwick.
We're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. Pete.
Coach Martin is awesome.
That guy
just awesome.
Everybody that gets to meet him, know him, and be around him says the exact same words.
Yeah, awesome.
The exact same words. So I'm going up there to do TV and radio. And before I go up, I want to go to practice.
Yep.
Because I want to see the team. I want to learn about the team. I want to learn names. I don't want to sit behind a radio and go, oh, yeah, that guy is number 34. I want to know it's Danny Carbuccia, who I love. I love their point guard, Danny. He's from Stepanak back home. It was our rival when I was at Sacred Heart. Okay, so everybody that I talk to before, I go, how's Frank Martin? What kind of guy is Frank Martin? Every single person that I talk to, without exception, said he's one of the finest people they've ever met in the business.
I agree.
It's just-
100%.
UMass is so fortunate to have him.
Yep.
The program is I'm telling people the MAC is hard. The MAC is a very difficult league, but this team right here, I think they're poised and ready to go. And with some of the talent they've brought in, I think the UMass basketball people got a real lot to be excited about on both sides of the ball. Their women's team is very, very strong, and I'm really rooting for Coach Martin and his squad because I just like the way they do business. They're
You know
a
what?
family. They're a family.
His legacy is not going to be in wins and losses. His legacy is going to be in the quality of people that he's turning out, both coaching and in players.
The lives that he's touched.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. And I would be, I'm not going overboard here to say that's what coaches are in the business for.
That's what they should be, yeah.
And I wanted to, and I didn't and I'm going to follow up with him on the phone. I'm going to call him, and I'm going to ask him more about game day because I don't like game day either. And when he said game day is hard for me, and I don't really get into it. I don't like it. I wanted to follow up with that, but I got lost a little bit, and I didn't come back at it. But I wanted to ask him why.
I think with you, because I know I've been around you on game days, I think it's because your brain is racing so much that you need some quiet, and you don't quite get that quiet before the game, and you don't get that quiet till after the game is over.
No doubt. No doubt. And I'll tell you something else about coaching. You win a game, that lasts for 34 minutes. You lose a game, it lasts for 34 hours.
Yep.
It's hard. And as Chris Caputo alluded to, and this is a conversation that I had with him, so I was kind of happy to hear him echo those sentiments. The head coaching job can be lonely. There's a lot of loneliness associated with that because, as he alluded to, my assistant coach is going to come in my office. We're going to have a discussion. Maybe we're having a staff meeting with everybody in there. But at the end of the day, that's the guy that got to make the call. That's the guy who has to make that eventual call. And you can listen, you can take advice, but at the end of the day, that's the guy who's got to make the call. And that's the top of the mountain. That's where the loneliness comes in because you don't want to screw these kids up. You don't want to hurt their dreams. You're out there trying to do the best you can. And it's a hard job.
You know what?
It's a hard job.
Honestly, I had the literal same conversation with a former president of the United States. I was working an event where I was a camera operator. I was going to be up on stage, and the president wanted to talk to me beforehand because I was going to be on stage with him. And the Secret Service brought me in there. And we talked about things, and he says, the way I lean politically, he says, you're going to get booed. He says, don't worry about it. That's fine. I said, I have a question for you. I said, why do you surround yourself with yes men? And he goes, at this level of politics, you need those people around you to get your agenda over the line. He said, but that being said, you need a couple of people that can tell you to your face when you're being a jerk. I'm editing that, but that can tell you that you're being a jerk, and you have to be able to trust them to say they're going to give you the honest answer, and that you need that check built into that. And it sounds like he's got that.
Yeah, I mean, in triplicate. One of the things also, you bring up the president. Imagine the pressure that's associated with that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the
game day.
Whether you tell your military guys and you got your fighter jets ready to go and you know the capability that they have, and you're going to be the guy that says, go.
Yep.
Let's go. We have to go. That's a lot. That's a lot,
Yeah.
and people don't get that. And that's why the pressure of the job is difficult. And as I said to Coach, I hope he stays the way he is all the time because that's serving the interest of those young men.
Yep.
That's the highest form of love, without question. Pete, we're in the playoffs. How about that?
Yeah, game 1 tonight.
Game 1 tonight, Knicks against the Spurs. New York's off the charts. They are apoplectic over this, and I love it. The Spurs, however, are going to create a problem for them. Let's go back. The Knicks are well rested. They took care of Cleveland, boom, 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 boom. Took out the broom and went boom, boom, boom. But now you're sitting there and you're rested, but now I'm analyzing the two teams. And what the Spurs did in Game 7 to OKC is significant.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised OKC's out and went home.
And you're talking about Harper, first-year guy, Castle, second-year guy. They have other veterans on that team, but there's a few guys that are just cracking that egg in the playoffs, and boy, did they show up. The second piece of the Spurs is Wembanyama. I mean, wow. He's so much of a presence now. And it's really, really, he's elevated his game, but that whole team kind of plays in the same ilk. And what they're doing is it's a slap. It's slap. Their size. You think you got a 7'7" guy in there? You got size. He made Holmgren look small. Now, go to the Thunder. Too much SGA. Too much one-stop shopping, and that's all the Spurs really had to stop. But now I want to go on because social media has been buzzing over this. The Thunder got to get rid of Holmgren. They got to get rid of Chet Holmgren, 7'3". He got obliterated by Wembanyama, to be honest with you, in that series, and I thought he was soft. I don't think his value is very high right now for the Thunder to be making a move and trading him because there's no way you're going to get fair market value right now for him. And so I think that's a bit of a problem, and it'll be interesting to see what Sam Presti does because everybody was OKC going to repeat. And now we've seen it with the Nuggets, the Celtics, come into the Thunder, and we'll see who gets it this year. But repeating in the NBA is really, really difficult. It ain't easy. Okay, let's jump forward now. Now we're in game one tonight. Okay, the Spurs, I believe because of their record, have home court advantage. So we're going to start in San Antonio. The Knicks right now are like 4 to 5 point underdogs in the game. Not surprising at all. The question that I have, and let's take it down both sides. Number one, this is the biggest forum, Madison Square Garden. How are the young Spurs players going to react? Second year, rookie, a lot of guys playing those minutes, but they do have some veterans with De'Aaron Fox and some other guys, but is that moment going to become a lot for these young players? Second piece of it is with the Spurs is, are they going to be able to, when the Knicks are going to take Cat, they're going to take Karl Anthony Towns away from the basket to draw Wembanyama out to the basket. If Cat shoots the ball well, this could be an interesting series. Because if he can draw Wembanyama away from the basket and make threes, it's going to open up the floor for everybody else. Yep. It's going to keep Wembanyama busy on the perimeter. The second thing the Knicks might want to employ is the use of bringing Wembanyama into the pick and roll as well. That's how they retired Shaquille O'Neal, Pete. They kept bringing him up into pick and rolls, and he was like, I can't keep coming up here and doing all this stuff. I'm a guy who stands under the basket at 7'2" and blocks shots. So they were asking him to do something that he's not. Wembanyama's a little bit more fluid, though. So it's going to be a challenge. Now we go to the Knicks side. Jalen Brunson out of his world right now, playing basketball at a high, high level. Now, you've got this team, and I'm going to allude to this and say why in a minute. But this team right now is shooting the ball better than any NBA team that's ever come into the finals. I don't even have stats on that, but I'm just making an assessment here. They are shooting the ball lights out, and it's all across the board. Everybody's shooting the ball well. Mikal Bridges couldn't throw the ball in the Atlantic Ocean 2 months ago. He's on fire right now. Brunson is on fire. They're bringing Landry Shamet off the bench, who shoots the lights out. And then you've got Towns and Anunoby and Bridges. Those guys all shoot it pretty good too. So if the Knicks can keep shooting well, you're going to have an interesting series. Here's the thing that I noticed with the Thunder, and I thought this was interesting. When Wembanyama is not covering the man who's shooting the ball, he throws his hands up in the air anyway. He's 10 feet from the guy, but he puts his arms all the way up into the air. He looks like he's 10, 11 feet, when he does it. And I think it's catching guys' eyes. He has no chance to block the shot. He's nowhere near the guy, but he throws his arms up in the air, and it creates a visual, I think, on the shooter, and this is why he's doing it. Watch that throughout this series and see how that goes, because against the Thunder, he was just throwing his arms up 10, 15 feet from the guy, but I think it was impacting. I think it was in the
messing
shooter's,
with their sight line?
In his sight line a little bit. And if you're a shooter and you come up and all of a sudden you see, it's one of those things that can just throw you off. And I thought, the whole thing of it is they had the Thunder looking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
They had the Thunder looking over their shoulder, and you can't shoot like that. The only guy that could handle that type of pressure was SGA. The other guys kind of melted under it. I don't know what happened with Jay Williams. He was hurt. I get it. But without him And without some of the other pieces, with the young Mitchell kid that went out, the Thunder kind of got hit early. But if you look at this team right now, it's just way too constructed around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Right.
MVP, has the ball in his hands all the time. We also saw that with Harden.
The NBA is not just a one-player league like it was a couple of years ago.
It's not. And so let's now also talk about Coach Brown from the Knicks and his approach that has been different than Thibodeau's. And I think this has made a little bit of a difference. Obviously, they didn't make the final last year, but they're going this year. All right, so they brought in a couple of guys that they use as bench players. And they've got Alvarado, they've got Landry Shamet, who is lights out shooting right now. If he continues to shoot the ball like that, it's going to be a very interesting series. And so when they come in, it's almost mathematical. They're coming in, they're going to get their minutes, and then they're coming back out. And as I said to you last week, they can rest Brunson at the end of a quarter, pick up 2 minutes there, pick up another 2 minutes in the TV timeout, pick up 2 minutes on the other side. He's only missed 4 minutes of the game, but he's actually had 6 minutes of rest. Then they bring in these young guys, and then they give him the energy, and then boom, back comes in Brunson with his other guys, and they get back to it. There's still a heavy Villanova flavor on this team. And what I mean by that is these guys have played together forever. They're in college, and they're going in to play pickup with each other, and they're playing against each other pickup. So they know, and one of the beauties of basketball is when you play with a group of guys that everybody knows what everybody does well. And that's kind of where they're at right now, you know. I just wanted to, in the end of the show, I just wanted to jump into the draft a little bit. All right, give you an idea of what we're doing. Next week, I think we're going to be at the Air Force Base. We're going to find out from Pete during the week on that, whether we're going or not, but I think we're going to do our show out there. That might be a special guest shot as well. We could get somebody to come up to the Air Force Base. But the 18th is when we're going to do our draft. And I've been through all of these mock drafts. I've been through all of it. And when Pete and I first started doing this show, my first draft had to be done within like a month.
Yeah,
it was done
true.
from me being able to have watched all the games that I watched and had a good mental base from which to operate from, but I still had to hustle. This draft right now at number 3, I've had a ton of time to go over this all year long. I've been preparing for this. I think we're going to knock it out of the park, Pete. I think we're going to absolutely knock it out of the park. I think they're missing something. And here's what we'll say to back it up. We took Zach Edey, number 1.
Yep.
We took Max Renaud at 15. We took Kel'el Ware at 11. And those guys have all played way above where they were drafted. Max Renaud was drafted in the 2nd round at 42. So we got some good ones for you. And some of the people that people are really high on, we're not that high on them, you know. But we made it an announcement, and we're going to make it here. I think we've done it before, but I think we're solid right now. We're going to pick A.J. DeBonsa number 1.
Yeah.
We're going to pick him number 1. And I'm going to give you a quick reason why, folks. I love the look on this kid's face when he competes. He has an internal focus. He's got a warrior's mentality. And this guy is, when he gets into an open NBA floor, is going to be tough. Now, with DeBonsa, what has to get better? His outside shooting. Cam Boozer, another great player in the top 5. He's got to improve a couple of different things in his game, but he is very skilled for a big man. Now you throw in Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson. That first 5 is really good. But if you're a guy that's hanging on to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we got guys for you. Believe me, we got guys for you. I think that the most underrated player in this draft, I'll give it to you now, we have him in our top 5, I believe, is Yaxel Lendenberg from Michigan. National champion. In the zone, we like winners. We love winners. And you're going to see Michigan have 3 first-round picks in this draft off of that team. And every single one of them is going to be an effective pro. You got Yax Lendenberg, you got Ade Mara, and Morez Johnson. And what a job Dusty May did in the portal, bringing all 3 of those guys in. Talking about chemistry, we talk about it all the time. Sudden coagulation as well. How can you bring it all together really quickly? Dusty May seems to have a real good grip on that because he brought all those guys in new, and man, did they mix. National champions, and that's the way we do it. Pete, That was the absolute fastest hour in the zone history.
Great interview,
I looked
too.
up at the clock and it was gone. And Coach Martin's a storyteller.
Yes, he is.
He's a storyteller, and I love that, man.
I want to
He's
go
got-
do a road show up at the Mullins Center and do an interview with him up there.
100%, 100%. Now that we've got him on, and what I said to Justin LaFleur, because he's one of the guys that we work through. I said, we don't have any gotchas here.
No?
We're not looking to tie nobody up. We're looking to get into it and have a story and open-ended questions and bring everybody to tell us their story.
Yep.
And some of the guests we've had have been absolutely great, but today, man, I'm going to walk out of here feeling pretty good, Pete. Folks, you're the best. That's who's the best. In the zone. Our zoners, you're the best. Keep an eye on that draft. Keep working it. It's going to be exciting. Playoffs start tonight. I'm going to give it to you. I can't say Knicks. I got to say the Knicks in 6, right? But I don't think so. I think the Spurs in 6, honestly.
Your heart's telling
my
you
heart's
one
telling
thing.
me one thing, and my brain's telling me something quite different. But, folks, you're in the zone, and we'll see you next week.